The first tremor hit on a Tuesday. Dr. Alina Reyes steadied herself against her workstation, her eyes fixed on the seismograph as it traced wild, erratic patterns across the screen. This was no ordinary earthquake. Dr. Reyes, her assistant Marcus, burst into the lab, his face pale. It's happening all over the world, every continent, simultaneously. Alina's mind raced. Global tectonic shifts. Impossible, unless. The artifact, she whispered. 36 hours earlier, a team of archaeologists had unearthed a strange object in the Atacama Desert. Perfectly spherical, it defied all known materials science. Its surface rippled with iridescent patterns that seemed to move of their own accord. Alina had been called in to study its geological implications, but now she feared they had awakened something far beyond their comprehension. As the tremors subsided, reports began flooding in from around the globe. People collapsing in the streets, clutching their heads. Others levitating objects with their minds. Children speaking languages they'd never learned. The impossible was becoming reality, and humanity was woefully unprepared. Alina grabbed her tablet, pulling up news feeds from every corner of the earth. Moscow. A group of teenagers had mentally linked, forming a hive mind that was rapidly solving complex mathematical theorems. Tokyo. A salaryman had spontaneously teleported from his cubicle to the top of Mount Fuji. Rio de Janeiro. A favela resident was healing the sick with a touch, her hands glowing with ethereal energy. It's as if. Marcus trailed off, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. As if the artifact has unlocked something within us, Alina finished. Some dormant potential we never knew we had. The ground trembled again, gentler this time. Alina steadied herself, closing her eyes. For a moment, she felt connected. To Marcus, to the lab, to the very earth beneath her feet. When she opened her eyes, the tablet was floating an inch above her palm. "We need to get to the artifact," she said, her voice filled with newfound determination. "Whatever it's done to us, we need to understand it. Before it's too late." As Alina and Marcus raced from the lab, the world outside was transforming. In New York, skyscrapers twisted into impossible shapes as architects reshaped matter with their minds. In the Sahara, a group of nomads had created an oasis, drawing water from deep underground with nothing but collective thought. And in orbit, astronauts on the International Space Station reported a strange, shimmering field enveloping the Earth. The artifact's influence spread like wildfire, igniting latent abilities in every human it touched. Some embraced their newfound powers with joy, using them to heal, create, and explore. Others, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of psychic energy, lashed out in confusion and fear. Governments scrambled to maintain order, but how could they control a population that could now read minds, manipulate matter, and bend the very fabric of reality? The old power structures were crumbling, and a new world was being born in the chaos. Alina and Marcus arrived at the excavation site, only to find it abandoned. Tents flapped in the wind, equipment lay scattered, and at the center of it all, a perfectly circular hole gaped in the desert floor. "It's gone," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. Alina knelt by the hole, running her fingers along its edge. As she touched the soil, visions flashed through her mind. Ancient civilizations rising and falling, cosmic forces beyond comprehension, and a sense of vast, unknowable intelligence. "No," she said, standing up. "It's not gone. It's everywhere." As if in response, the sky lit up with aurora-like patterns, visible even in the harsh desert sunlight. Alina felt a surge of energy course through her body, and suddenly she understood. The artifact wasn't just an object, it was a key. a key that had unlocked the next stage of human evolution. Marcus, she said, turning to her assistant with eyes that now glowed with an inner light, we need to gather the others, the ones who can control their abilities. We have work to do. What kind of work? Marcus asked, both awed and terrified by the transformation he was witnessing.
The first tremor hit on a Tuesday. Dr. Elena Reyes steadied herself against her workstation, her eyes fixed on the seismograph as it traced wild, erratic patterns across the screen. This was no ordinary earthquake. Dr. Reyes, her assistant Marcus, burst into the lab, his face pale. It's happening all over the world, every continent simultaneously. Elena's mind raced. Global tectonic shifts, impossible. Unless. The artifact, she whispered. 36 hours earlier, a team of archaeologists had unearthed a strange object in the Atacama Desert. Perfectly spherical, it defied all known materials science. Its surface rippled with iridescent patterns that seemed to move of their own accord. Elena had been called in to study its geological implications, but now she feared they had awakened something far beyond their comprehension. As the tremors subsided, reports began flooding in from around the globe. People collapsing in the streets, clutching their heads. Others levitating objects with their minds. Children speaking languages they'd never learned. The impossible was becoming reality, and humanity was woefully unprepared. Elena grabbed her tablet, pulling up news feeds from every corner of the earth. Moscow. A group of teenagers had mentally linked, forming a hive mind that was rapidly solving complex mathematical theorems. Tokyo. A salaryman had spontaneously teleported from his cubicle to the top of Mount Fuji. Rio de Janeiro. A favela resident was healing the sick with a touch, her hands glowing with ethereal energy. It's as if. Marcus trailed off, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. As if the artifact has unlocked something within us, Elena finished. Some dormant potential we never knew we had. The ground trembled again, gentler this time. Elena steadied herself, closing her eyes. For a moment, she felt connected. To Marcus, to the lab, to the very earth beneath her feet. When she opened her eyes, the tablet was floating an inch above her palm. We need to get to the artifact, she said, her voice filled with newfound determination. Whatever it's done to us, we need to understand it, before it's too late. As Elena and Marcus raced from the lab, the world outside was transforming. In New York, skyscrapers twisted into impossible shapes as architects reshaped matter with their minds. In the Sahara, a group of nomads had created an oasis, drawing water from deep underground with nothing but collective thought. And in orbit, astronauts on the International Space Station reported a strange, shimmering field enveloping the Earth. The artifact's influence spread like wildfire, igniting latent abilities in every human it touched. Some embraced their newfound powers with joy, using them to heal, create, and explore. Others, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of psychic energy, lashed out in confusion and fear. Governments scrambled to maintain order, but how could they control a population that could now read minds, manipulate matter, and bend the very fabric of reality? The old power structures were crumbling, and a new world was being born in the chaos. Elena and Marcus arrived at the excavation site, only to find it abandoned. Tents flapped in the wind, equipment lay scattered, and at the center of it all, a perfectly circular hole gaped in the desert floor. "It's gone," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. Elena knelt by the hole, running her fingers along its edge. As she touched the soil, visions flashed through her mind. Ancient civilizations rising and falling, cosmic forces beyond comprehension, and a sense of vast, unknowable intelligence. "No," she said, standing up. "It's not gone, it's everywhere." As if in response, the sky lit up with aurora-like patterns, visible even in the harsh desert sunlight. Elena felt a surge of energy course through her body, and suddenly she understood. The artifact wasn't just an object, it was a key. a key that had unlocked the next stage of human evolution. "Marcus," she said, turning to her assistant with eyes that now glowed with an inner light, "we need to gather the others, the ones who can control their abilities. We have work to do." "What kind of work?" Marcus asked, both awed and terrified by the transformation he was witnessing. Elena smiled, a smile that held the weight of newfound knowledge and responsibility. "We're going to reshape the world," she said, "and then we're going to reach for the stars." As they left the excavation site, neither Elena nor Marcus noticed the faint, pulsing glow emanating from the hole where the artifact had been. Deep beneath the earth, something was stirring. The awakening had only just begun. In the days that followed, society teetered on the brink of collapse. Traditional power structures crumbled as individuals with extraordinary abilities rose to prominence. Some used their newfound powers for personal gain, while others sought to maintain order in a world gone mad. Elena and Marcus traveled across continents, gathering a group of like-minded individuals who had managed to harness their abilities responsibly. They called themselves the Nexus, and their mission was clear: guide humanity through this tumultuous transition and prevent global catastrophe. As the first week drew to a close, Elena stood atop a hill overlooking a sprawling metropolis. The city's skyline had been reshaped by the psychic energies coursing through its inhabitants. Buildings twisted into impossible shapes, parks floated in midair, and rivers of light flowed through the streets. "It's beautiful," Marcus said, joining her. Elena nodded, but her expression remained serious and dangerous. "We've only scratched the surface of what we're capable of. There's so much we don't understand." As if to underscore her point, a massive explosion rocked the city center. A plume of multicolored energy shot into the sky, forming a swirling vortex that began to draw in nearby objects. "Looks like someone's lost control," Marcus said grimly. Elena closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. She could feel the panicked thoughts of the thousands caught in the vortex's pull, the raw fear and confusion of a person whose powers had spiraled beyond their grasp. "Not for long," she said, opening her eyes. They glowed with ethereal energy as she extended her hand toward the vortex. Marcus watched in awe as Elena's consciousness expanded, enveloping the chaotic energy. Slowly, painstakingly, she began to unravel the psychic knot at its center. The vortex's rotation slowed, then stopped altogether. As the energy dissipated, the city below breathed a collective sigh of relief. Elena stumbled, drained by the effort. Marcus caught her, supporting her weight. "That was incredible," he said. She managed a weak smile. "It's not enough. For every crisis we avert, 10 more spring up. We need to find the source, understand how to control these abilities on a fundamental level." As they made their way back to their makeshift base, news reports from around the world painted a picture of a planet in flux. In some regions, enhanced individuals had banded together to create utopian communities, using their powers to eliminate hunger, disease, and want. In others, would-be tyrants with godlike abilities subjugated entire populations. The Nexus worked tirelessly, intervening where they could, always searching for answers. But as the first month of the awakening drew to a close, it became clear that humanity was standing at a crossroads. The choices made in the coming days would determine not just the fate of their species, but potentially the future of the cosmos itself. Elena knew that somewhere out there, the artifact that had started it all was waiting to be found, and with it, the key to unlocking the full potential of the human mind. The awakening was just the beginning. The true test of humanity's worth was yet to come. 6 months after the awakening, the world had become unrecognizable. Psychic abilities had reshaped every aspect of human society, from governance to economics, from education to warfare. But for every step forward, humanity seemed to take 2 steps back. Elena Reyes stood at the window of the Nexus's new headquarters, a crystalline structure grown from the bedrock of Mount Kilimanjaro. Her eyes, now permanently ringed with a subtle glow, surveyed the African savanna below. Herds of animals moved in perfect synchronicity, guided by the gentle mental nudges of conservationists. In the distance, a city of impossible architecture stretched towards the sky, its spires defying gravity. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Marcus said, joining her at the window. "Sometimes I forget how far we've come." Elena's expression remained grim. "And how far we still have to go. Have you seen the latest reports?" Marcus nodded, his face darkening. The Omega Collective, they're getting bolder. The Omega Collective had emerged as the antithesis to everything the Nexus stood for. Led by a charismatic and immensely powerful psychic known only as Erebus, they believed that the awakening was meant to elevate a chosen few to godhood. Those who couldn't manifest abilities, or whose abilities were deemed weak, were treated as subhuman, fit only to serve their superiors. "They've taken control of entire countries," Elena said, pulling up a holographic map with a gesture. Red areas indicating Omega influence spread across large swaths of Eastern Europe and Southeast Asia. "And their ideology is spreading. People are scared, confused. Erebus offers them simple answers and the promise of power." Marcus frowned. "We've tried reasoning with them, offering aid, even direct intervention. Nothing seems to work." "That's because we've been reactive," Elena said, turning from the window. Her eyes blazed with determination. "It's time we took the fight to them." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the complex. Elena and Marcus rushed to the central command room, where dozens of enhanced individuals worked in perfect mental synchronicity. At the center of the room, a massive holographic globe spun, red hotspots flaring to life across its surface. "Multiple attacks," reported Zara, the head of global operations. Her fingers danced through the air, manipulating the hologram. "Paris, Mumbai, Sydney, and Rio de Janeiro. All Omega strikes." Elena's mind raced, processing the information and formulating strategies faster than any computer. "They're targeting our major support centers, trying to undermine public trust in the Nexus." "We can't be everywhere at once," Marcus said, frustration evident in his voice. "We don't have to be," Elena replied. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. Across the globe, hundreds of Nexus operatives felt her touch, receiving tactical information and drawing strength from her resolve. "Zara, coordinate our response teams. Marcus, I need you to reach out to our allies in the unaffected regions. We'll need all hands on deck for what comes next." As her team sprang into action, Elena retreated to a quiet corner of the room. She placed her hand on a smooth, featureless pedestal, a direct link to the Nexus's most closely guarded secret. Hidden deep within the mountain, protected by layers of psychic shielding, lay the artifact that had started it all. In the months since its discovery, Elena and a select few had worked tirelessly to unravel its mysteries. They had learned to draw power from it, to expand their abilities beyond what they had thought possible. But its true purpose, its origin, remained elusive. As Elena connected with the artifact, she felt a familiar rush of energy and expanded awareness. Images flashed through her mind, stars being born and dying, civilizations rising and falling across countless worlds, and through it all, a sense of patient, ancient intelligence. "We need your help," Elena whispered. "Show us the way." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a dam breaking, information flooded into Elena's mind. She gasped, overwhelmed by the influx of knowledge. When the torrent subsided, she was left with a single crystal-clear understanding. The artifact was not unique. There were others, scattered across the earth, waiting to be found. Elena's eyes snapped open. "I know what we need to do," she announced to the room. Over the next few weeks, as the Nexus worked to contain the fallout from the Omega attacks, Elena led a series of covert missions across the globe. Guided by the visions from the artifact, they unearthed more of the mysterious objects. A pyramid buried beneath the Antarctic ice, a sphere hidden in the depths of the Mariana Trench, a cube floating in geosynchronous orbit, undetected by conventional sensors. With each discovery, the Nexus's understanding and abilities grew. They learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe, to peer across vast distances of space and time, to touch minds across the globe with a mere thought. But the Omega Collective was not idle. Somehow, they had learned of the artifact's existence. The race to find them turned into a shadow war, fought with psychic attacks and reality-warping battles that reshaped entire landscapes. In Istanbul, Nexus operatives clashed with Omega forces atop the Hagia Sophia. The ancient structure rose into the air, sustained by the combatants' powers, as they fought for control of a shard of artifact buried in its foundations. The battle ended with the building gently returning to Earth, the Nexus victorious, but shaken by the Omega's growing strength. In the Amazon rainforest, an Omega strike team attacked a Nexus research facility. The defending scientists used their abilities to animate the very trees, turning the jungle into a living weapon. The Omega forces retreated, but not before reducing hundreds of acres to ash. With each confrontation, the stakes grew higher. Both sides pushed the boundaries of their powers, unlocking new and terrifying abilities. The world watched in a mixture of awe and fear as godlike beings clashed in the skies and streets. Amid the chaos, a new movement emerged. Calling themselves the Equilibrium, they were comprised of both enhanced and non-enhanced humans who believed that the unchecked growth of psychic powers would lead to humanity's doom. They advocated for strict controls on ability use and the destruction of the artifacts. Elena and the Nexus now found themselves fighting a war on two fronts, against the megalomaniacal ambitions of the Omega Collective and the well-intentioned but misguided efforts of the Equilibrium. As the conflict escalated, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The artifacts, for all their power, felt like pieces of a larger puzzle. What was their true purpose? And what would happen when that purpose was finally revealed? The answer came on a cold, clear night, as Elena stood atop the Nexus headquarters, gazing at the star-filled sky. A sudden silence fell over the world, as if every mind on the planet collectively held its breath. Then, like a vast cosmic door swinging open, the fabric of reality shimmered. A voice, ancient and powerful, echoed in the minds of every human on Earth, enhanced and non-enhanced alike. The trial begins. Prove yourselves worthy, children of Earth, or face extinction. In that moment, Elena understood. The awakening, the artifacts, the conflicts that had reshaped their world, it had all been preparation. Humanity had been given incredible power, and now they would be judged on how they used it. As the voice faded, leaving stunned silence in its wake, Elena knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The fate of humanity would be decided not by who controlled the most artifacts or wielded the greatest power, but by whether they could overcome their divisions and face its cosmic trial as a united species. She reached out with her mind, touching the thoughts of Marcus Zara and every member of the Nexus across the globe. In that touch was a message of determination, hope, and a call to action. The resistance against their own worst natures had to end. It was time for humanity to rise above its petty conflicts and face its destiny among the stars. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Elena steeled herself for the battles to come. The Omega Collective, the Equilibrium, the artifacts, all of it had been prologue. The true test of humanity's worth was about to begin. The cosmic pronouncement echoed across the world, reshaping humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. For a brief, breathtaking moment, all conflicts ceased as the implications sank in. Humanity was not alone, and it was being tested. Elena Reyes stood at the heart of the Nexus Command Center, her mind ablaze with possibilities and dangers. Around her, the most powerful psychics on Earth gathered, their combined mental energy causing the air to shimmer with potential. "We need to unite," Elena said, her voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. "All of us. Nexus, Omega, Equilibrium, none of that matters now. We're facing something far beyond our petty squabbles." Marcus, his face lined with worry, nodded in agreement. But how? The Omega Collective won't just lay down arms. and the equilibrium still sees us as a threat to humanity's survival. Elena closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. She could feel the pulse of every human on the planet, a cacophony of fear, excitement, and confusion. But beneath it all, a current of something new, purpose. "We show them the truth," she said, opening her eyes. They blaze with inner light. All of it. Over the next days, Elena and the Nexus embarked on their most ambitious project yet. Using their combined psychic abilities, amplified by the artifacts they had gathered, they created a global telepathic network. Every human on Earth, enhanced or not, was invited to join. Those who accepted found themselves experiencing a collective vision. They saw the history of the artifacts, glimpsed the ancient race that had created them, and understood the purpose of the awakening. It wasn't just a test, it was an invitation, an opportunity for humanity to join a cosmic community of sentient species. But that invitation came with a price. They had to prove themselves worthy, to demonstrate that they could wield their newfound powers responsibly. The alternative was too terrible to contemplate. Failure would mean the extinction of the human race. As the vision faded, the world was forever changed. The Omega Collective, their leadership shaken by the revelation, fragmented. Many of its members, humbled by the cosmic perspective they had gained, defected to join the Nexus. Others, led by the enigmatic Erebus, retreated to hidden strongholds, clinging to their dreams of godhood. The Equilibrium, faced with irrefutable evidence of humanity's destiny, reluctantly agreed to work with the enhanced population. Their expertise in ethics and philosophy would prove invaluable in the challenges to come. United by a common purpose, humanity began to ascend. Cities were transformed overnight, reshaped by the collective will of their inhabitants. Towering spires of crystal and light reached into the stratosphere, while vast networks of underground habitats expanded living space without encroaching on recovering ecosystems. Energy crisis became a thing of the past as psychics learned to tap into the fundamental forces of the universe. Pollution vanished, scrubbed from the environment by teams of dedicated environmental psychics. Disease fell to the wayside as healers unlocked the secrets of the human genome, rewriting damaged DNA with a thought. But it wasn't just the physical world that was changing. Human consciousness itself was evolving. As more people joined the global psychic network, a collective intelligence began to emerge. It wasn't a hive mind. Individuality remained fiercely protected, but rather a vast, collaborative consciousness that could tackle previously insurmountable problems. Elena stood at the forefront of this transformation, guiding humanity towards its cosmic potential. But even as she marveled at their progress, a deep unease gnawed at her. "We're changing so fast," she confided to Marcus one evening, as they stood atop the Nexus headquarters, watching the aurora-like patterns of psychic energy that now constantly danced in the sky. "Are we losing something essential about ourselves in the process?" Marcus considered her words carefully. "We're still human," he said finally. "Just more. Our compassion, our creativity, our capacity for love, none of that has diminished. If anything, it's grown stronger." Elena nodded, but the worry didn't leave her eyes. "And what about those who can't or won't join the network? Are we leaving them behind?" It was a valid concern. While the majority of humanity had embraced the change, there were holdouts. Some feared losing their individuality, others distrusted the motives behind the transformation. A small but vocal minority insisted the whole thing was an elaborate hoax or a prelude to alien invasion. The Nexus worked tirelessly to address these fears, to ensure that no one was left behind in humanity's great leap forward. But time was not on their side. Though they had no clear deadline, everyone could feel the pressure of the cosmic judgment hanging over them. As the one-year anniversary of the awakening approached, humanity faced its first major test. A massive solar flare, far beyond anything ever recorded, threatened to scorch the Earth. In the old world, it would have meant devastation on an unimaginable scale. But humanity had ascended. As the flare approached, millions of psychics joined their minds and powers. They reached out into space, creating a vast shield of pure mental energy that encompassed the entire planet. The solar storm broke against this psychic barrier, its fury transformed into a dazzling light show that illuminated the Earth for days. In the aftermath of this triumph, Elena allowed herself a moment of hope. Perhaps they were ready after all. Perhaps humanity had truly grown into its potential. But even as humanity celebrated, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. Deep in his hidden stronghold, Erebus seethed with rage and jealousy. He had not joined the global network, had not shared in the collective vision. In his eyes, Elena and the Nexus had stolen his destiny, denying him the godhood he craved. With the remnants of the Omega Collective at his command and a handful of artifacts in his possession, Erebus began to plot. He would show humanity, and their alien observers, what true power looked like, and he would start by destroying the Nexus. Meanwhile, in the vast reaches of space, something stirred. The cosmic entities that had initiated humanity's trial turned their full attention to Earth. The final test was about to begin. Elena felt it first, a tremor in the psychic plane that made her blood run cold. She reached out to Marcus and the other Nexus leaders, her mental voice tight with urgency. "It's time," she said. "Whatever's coming, it's happening now." A vast, incomprehensible shape began to emerge from the rift in space-time. Across the world, enhanced and non-enhanced humans alike looked up in awe and terror. The ascension had brought humanity to incredible heights. But would it be enough to face what was coming? As the alien presence loomed ever larger, Elena steeled herself for the greatest challenge of her life, and quite possibly the final chapter of human history. In that moment, standing at the precipice of humanity's judgment, Elena felt the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. The ascension had changed them, elevated them, but at their core, they were still human. With all the flaws, all the potential, all the indomitable spirit that entailed. As the vast alien presence filled the sky, Elena reached out to every mind on Earth, her thoughts a beacon of determination and hope. Together, she projected, her mental voice resonating with unwavering resolve. Whatever comes next, we face it together. United in purpose, their powers amplified by the artifacts and their own incredible evolution, humanity prepared to meet its cosmic judges. The ascension had brought them to this point. Now, it was time to prove they were worthy of the alien presence hung in the sky like a second moon, defying all known laws of physics. Its surface rippled with colors beyond human comprehension, and its sheer size made even the largest human structures seem insignificant by comparison. Elena Reyes stood at the head of a vast gathering of humanity's most powerful psychics. The air around them crackled with energy as they joined their minds, creating a unified consciousness that could withstand communication with the cosmic entity. "We are ready," Elena projected, her thoughts amplified by millions of minds. For a moment, there was silence. Then, like a tidal wave of pure information, the entity responded. Images, emotions, and concepts beyond human understanding flooded their collective consciousness. Elena and her fellow psychics strained to interpret, to understand. Slowly, comprehension dawned. The entity wasn't just a judge, it was a gateway. A test, yes, but also an invitation. If humanity proved worthy, they would be welcomed into a cosmic community of sentient species. Their understanding of reality expanded beyond imagination. But first, they had to prove themselves. As the alien presence retreated slightly, giving humanity space to face its trial, a new threat emerged. Erebus, the leader of the remnant Omega Collective, chose that moment to strike. Fueled by jealousy and a lust for power, Erebus and his followers launched a massive psychic assault on the major population centers of Earth. Cities warped and twisted under the onslaught, reality itself buckling under the weight of Erebus's corrupted power. "This is our true test," Elena realized, her mind racing. "Not just to impress some cosmic judge, but to prove we can overcome our own darkness." She reached out to Marcus Zara and the other Nexus leaders. "Defend the cities," she commanded. "I'll deal with Erebus." As the Nexus mobilized, Elena took a deep breath and opened her mind fully to the artifact network. Power like she'd never known coursed through her being. She could sense every mind on Earth, feel the pulse of the planet itself. With a thought, she located Erebus. He had hidden himself away in a fortress built into the heart of a dormant volcano, thinking himself safe from retribution. Elena smiled grimly. "Not anymore," she whispered. In an instant, she projected herself across the globe, her astral form materializing in Erebus's sanctum. The leader of the Omega Collective recoiled in shock and fear. "How?" he sputtered. "This is impossible." "You never understood, Erebus," Elena said, her voice echoing with power. "This was never about becoming gods. It was about becoming more fully human." Erebus snarled and lashed out with a blast of psychic energy that could have leveled a city. Elena absorbed it without flinching. "Your way leads only to destruction," she continued. "Look." With a gesture, she opened a window in reality, showing Erebus the devastation his followers were causing. But she also showed him something else: the Nexus defenders, working tirelessly to protect innocent lives. Enhanced humans using their powers not for personal gain, but to shelter and heal. "This is what we're capable of," Elena said softly. "Not just destruction, but creation. Not domination, but cooperation." For a moment, she saw a flicker of doubt in Erebus's eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by maniacal rage. "Never," he roared, drawing deeply on his artifacts. The volcano around them rumbled to life, lava seeping through cracks in the floor. Elena sighed. She had hoped to avoid this. With a heavy heart, she opened herself fully to the artifact network. The collected knowledge and power of countless civilizations flowed through her. As Erebus launched his final, desperate attack, Elena met it with the full force of humanity's potential. Their psychic energies clashed in a battle that shook the foundations of reality. For a moment, the outcome hung in the balance. Then, with a sound like the birth of a universe, Erebus's power shattered. The leader of the Omega Collective fell to his knees, his connection to his artifacts severed. Elena stood over him, not in triumph, but in sorrow. "It didn't have to be this way," she said quietly. As Nexus operatives moved in to secure Erebus and his followers, Elena turned her attention back to the global psychic network. The threat of the Omega Collective had been neutralized, but at a great cost. Millions were injured, cities lay in ruins, and the fabric of reality itself had been strained to its limit. And all the while the alien presence watched. With the immediate danger past, humanity turned its full attention to recovery and rebuilding. It was a monumental task, but one that would prove to be their true test. All around the world, enhanced humans worked alongside their non-enhanced brethren. Psychic healers tended to the wounded, their powers accelerating natural healing processes. Teams of telekinetics cleared rubble and rebuilt structures in days rather than months. Those with the ability to manipulate time created bubbles of accelerated healing around the most devastated areas. But it wasn't just the enhanced who contributed. Ordinary humans, armed with nothing but their determination and ingenuity, played crucial roles in the recovery efforts. Scientists worked to understand and replicate some of the psychic feats, bridging the gap between the enhanced and non-enhanced. Artists and philosophers grappled with the implications of their new reality, helping society adapt to the incredible changes. Through it all, the global psychic network pulsed with shared purpose. Humanity had faced its darkest impulses and emerged stronger, more united. They had proven that they could wield almost godlike power without losing their essential humanity. As the last of the major recovery efforts neared completion, Elena once again stood at the head of a global gathering of minds. This time, however, every human on Earth was invited to join, enhanced and non-enhanced alike. Together, they reached out to the alien presence that had watched their trial. The response was immediate. The alien entity pulsed with light, and suddenly, the barriers of reality fell away. humanity found its consciousness expanded beyond the confines of Earth, beyond their solar system, beyond even their galaxy. They saw the vast network of sentient civilizations spread across the cosmos. They witnessed the birth and death of stars, the collision of galaxies, the very fabric of space-time folding and unfolding in cosmic dance. As their expanded awareness settled, Elena felt a profound sense of peace and purpose wash over her. They had done it. Humanity had proven itself worthy. But even as she reveled in their triumph, a new realization dawned. This wasn't an end, but a beginning. They stood on the threshold of a new era, with challenges and wonders beyond imagination waiting to be explored. As the alien presence began to withdraw, leaving humanity to digest its newfound cosmic awareness, Elena turned to her fellow humans, her mind alight with possibilities. "We've proven ourselves," she projected, her thoughts tinged with excitement and determination. "Now, let's show the universe what humanity can really do." But as the initial euphoria began to fade, new questions arose. How would they navigate this vast, interconnected cosmos? What role would Earth play in this new galactic society? And perhaps most pressingly, how would they ensure that their newfound powers and knowledge were used for the benefit of all, not just a chosen few? These were the challenges that would define the next chapter of human history. As Elena and the Nexus prepared to lead humanity into this new frontier, they knew that the real work was just beginning.